He was only 18 years old, a rising basketball star, an MVP who carried the hopes of his hometown, and a young athlete who had just begun his journey with one of the Philippines' most prestigious basketball programs. But on June 8th, 2026, what was supposed to be a team-building activity turned into a tragedy that stunned the entire nation. Two promising players never came home. Questions quickly followed. What really happened in the waters of Dipaculao, Aurora? Could the tragedy have been prevented? And why are multiple government agencies investigating what many initially believed was simply an accident? This is the story of René Clert Baterbonia. Long before his name appeared in national headlines, René Clert Bobet Baterbonia had already become one of the brightest young basketball players in Mindanao. Growing up in Agasan del Sur, he developed a reputation for his discipline, athleticism, and determination. His performances in youth tournaments earned admiration from coaches across the country. His biggest breakthrough came during the 2025 Palarong Pambansa, where he helped lead his team and was named the tournament's most valuable player. That performance established him as one of the Philippines' most promising young basketball talents. Soon afterward, he received an opportunity that many young athletes only dream about. He committed to play for the Ateneo Blue Eagles. For Rene and his family, it represented years of sacrifice finally paying off. A new chapter was about to begin. No one imagined how quickly that dream would end. After joining Ateneo's basketball program, Rene attended a team-building activity in Dipaculao, Aurora. The activity was intended to strengthen teamwork and camaraderie before the upcoming basketball season. Players and coaching staff gathered for outdoor activities near the coast. But on the afternoon of June 8, 2026, the atmosphere suddenly changed. During a water activity, René Baterbonia and teammate Divine Adili encountered distress in the water. A rescue operation immediately began. Despite the efforts of responders, both student athletes died from drowning. Authorities later identified the cause of René's death as asphyxiation by drowning. The tragedy shocked teammates, coaches, friends, and basketball fans throughout the country. News spread rapidly. Messages of grief poured in from fellow athletes, schools, sports organizations, and fans. Ateneo de Manila University released a statement mourning the deaths of René Baterbonia and Divine Adili and extended condolences to their families and teammates. For René's family, however, grief soon turned into unanswered questions. His mother publicly expressed that she did not believe the incident should simply be dismissed as an accident and appealed for a thorough investigation into what happened. Those statements intensified public interest in the case. People wanted answers. What exactly happened in the minutes before the drowning? Could more have been done? The morning of June 8, 2026, began like any other day of the Ateneo Blue Eagles team-building retreat in Dipaculao, Aurora. Players took part in activities designed to build trust, teamwork, and camaraderie before the start of the upcoming basketball season. The atmosphere was relaxed. Teammates laughed, talked, and enjoyed the coastal setting. No one could have imagined that the day would end in tragedy. As part of the program, members of the team entered the water. Initial reports indicate that conditions in the sea changed quickly. Strong waves and currents developed, creating a dangerous situation for several participants. During the activity, two players, René Clert Baterbonia and Divine Adili, were seen struggling in the water. Within moments, what had begun as a recreational activity turned into an emergency. Panic spread across the shoreline as teammates and staff realized the seriousness of the situation. Witnesses immediately called for help. Coaches, staff members, resort personnel, and local residents rushed toward the water in an attempt to rescue the players. Some rescuers entered the sea despite the dangerous surf. Others contacted emergency responders, while additional volunteers searched the shoreline. Every passing second became critical. The powerful waves complicated rescue efforts, making it difficult to quickly locate the missing athletes. Rescue personnel continued searching despite the hazardous conditions. Eventually, both René Baterbonia and Divine Adili were recovered from the water. Emergency responders immediately began life-saving procedures before transporting them to a nearby medical facility. Friends and teammates waited anxiously, hoping for good news. Unfortunately, despite all rescue efforts, both young athletes were later declared dead. The official cause of René Baterbonia's death was determined to be asphyxia due to drowning, according to authorities. As news of the tragedy spread across the country, expressions of grief were quickly followed by difficult questions. How did two elite athletes end up in such danger? Were weather and sea conditions properly assessed before the activity? Were enough safety personnel and rescue equipment available? Could the tragedy have been prevented? These questions soon became the focus of multiple official investigations. Authorities from the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, and other government agencies began examining the circumstances surrounding the incident. At the same time, Ateneo de Manila University launched its own internal investigation to determine exactly what happened during the team-building activity. For René Baterbonia's family, the loss was unimaginable. But beyond the grief, they wanted answers. As investigators gathered witness statements, reviewed evidence, and reconstructed the sequence of events, the case evolved from a tragic drowning into a matter of public concern. The search for answers. The deaths of René Clert Baterbonia and Divine Adili sent shockwaves through the Philippine sports community. But for investigators, the tragedy marked the beginning of a complex search for answers. Within hours of the incident, multiple government agencies launched separate investigations to determine exactly what happened and whether anyone could be held accountable. The Philippine National Police, PNP. The first official investigation was conducted by the Philippine National Police, PNP. Investigators secured the area where the incident occurred and began interviewing players, coaches, resort personnel, organizers, and eyewitnesses. Their objective was to establish an accurate timeline, from the start of the team-building activities to the rescue operation. Authorities also examined weather conditions, sea currents, safety measures, and emergency response procedures. Investigators sought to determine whether proper precautions had been taken before the players entered the water. Every statement and every minute of the timeline became an important piece of the investigation. The National Bureau of Investigation, NBI. Because of the public interest surrounding the case, the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, also launched its own inquiry. Unlike the initial police investigation, the NBI focused on gathering additional evidence and independently reviewing the circumstances of the tragedy. Investigators examined medical findings, witness accounts, photographs, videos, and any available digital evidence that could help reconstruct what happened. The agency also looked into whether existing safety protocols were followed during the activity. Their goal was not only to understand how the drowning occurred, but also to determine whether negligence may have contributed to the deaths. The Department of Justice, DOJ. As public attention intensified, the Department of Justice, DOJ, announced that it would monitor the investigations closely. The DOJ emphasized that if evidence showed criminal negligence or violations of the law, appropriate legal action would be pursued through the proper judicial process. At this stage, officials urged the public to avoid speculation and allow investigators to complete their work based on evidence rather than public opinion. The department stressed that accountability, if warranted, must be determined through due process. The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, CIDG. The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, CIDG, also became involved in gathering information related to the incident. Working alongside other investigative agencies, CIDG personnel reviewed witness statements and coordinated with local authorities to ensure that all relevant evidence was properly documented. Their participation reflected the seriousness with which the government viewed the deaths of the two student athletes. Ateneo's internal investigation. Beyond the government investigations, Ateneo de Manila University formed its own fact-finding panel. The university stated that its purpose was to determine the circumstances surrounding the team-building activity and identify any institutional lessons that could help prevent similar tragedies in the future. University officials pledged to cooperate fully with government investigators while also reviewing their own policies regarding off-campus activities, risk assessment, and emergency preparedness. For the Ateneo community, the investigation was not only about accountability, it was also about honoring the memory of two young athletes whose lives ended far too soon. The families continue to seek answers. As the investigations progressed, René Baterbonia's family publicly appealed for transparency. They expressed their hope that every detail would be carefully examined and that the truth would emerge through the official investigations. For them, understanding what happened was essential, not only to find closure, but also to help ensure that similar tragedies could be prevented in the future. For most people, the tragedy ended with the news of two young athletes losing their lives. But for the families of René Clert Baterbonia and Divine Adili, that was only the beginning. As they mourned the loss of their sons, they also searched for answers. They wanted to understand exactly what happened during the team-building activity and why two healthy, promising athletes never returned home. In the days following the tragedy, René Baterbonia's family made a heartfelt appeal to the public and to government authorities. They asked for a thorough, transparent, and impartial investigation. For them, accepting the incident as simply an accident was not enough. They wanted every detail examined, from the planning of the activity to the rescue efforts that followed. Their message was clear. We are not seeking speculation. We are seeking the truth. The family hoped that by uncovering what really happened, they could honor René's memory and help prevent similar tragedies from happening to other young athletes. As official investigations continued, several important questions were publicly raised by the families and discussed in media reports. Among them were weather and sea conditions properly assessed before the water activity began? Was participation in the activity voluntary, or were players expected to take part? Were there enough trained lifeguards or emergency responders on site? Was the emergency response fast enough once the athletes were seen struggling? Were existing safety protocols followed by the organizers? These questions became central to the ongoing investigations. Authorities continue to examine the available evidence, and no final determination regarding responsibility has been issued. For the families, accountability is not only about assigning blame. It is also about ensuring that future athletes are protected. Many parents entrust schools and universities with the safety of their children during official activities. When tragedies occur, families naturally seek assurance that every reasonable precaution was taken. This case has sparked broader conversations about risk management, emergency preparedness, and safety standards for school-organized outdoor activities across the Philippines. Amid the investigations and media coverage, those who knew René remembered him for something far greater than the circumstances of his death. He was remembered as a hard-working young man who loved basketball. A teammate, a son, a friend, a young athlete whose future seemed limitless. His story is not defined only by the tragedy that ended his life, but by the dedication and dreams that inspired those around him.